Madam Speaker, I'm happy to yield 5 minutes to my friend and colleague, the gentleman from New York, Mr. Weiner.
The gentleman from New York is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I think that I speak for all of our colleagues and all of us here in paying tribute to the 137,000 some odd American men and women who are fighting in Iraq, the 25,000 or so men and women that are fighting in Afghanistan. We are here to do what we can to honor them. We are trying to express our patriotism. We are trying to do what we're obligated to do by standing up here. The notion that it is our patriotic duty, our obligation to sit silent and to do whatever the President thinks is best and blindly walk in that direction, that is not the way to honor the troops that are there. I can imagine the challenge that they face every single day. And would the message going back to them be most appropriate that just as often as they wake up in the deserts of Iraq trying to figure out why people are shooting at them and what they can do to stop, they should know that every single day we here in Congress are trying to think about ways to make their mission safer and make it more possible for them to accomplish their mission and to extract them as soon as possible. We pray that they're successful. I pray that although I strongly oppose the President's initiative, I'm going to vote yes on this resolution, I pray that they're successful. I pray we don't lose another life. We want them to be successful. But it's not enough just to be silent and to be prayerful. We also have to act. You know, some in this chamber have objected to this resolution because what it seeks to do is to do two things. One, the thing that I've done already, which was pay tribute to the troops, something we all share in doing. And two, is begin on a path of oversight. It is not surprising at all to hear my friends on the other side of the aisle have such a difficult concept with this idea of doing oversight over something the President proposes. They've done no oversight over how the money's been spent over there, and so as a result, we found out in the first month of the Democratic Congress that a $12 billion pallet of currency was delivered to Iraq and promptly disappeared. We had hearings last week that showed that even Mr. Bremer and officials on the ground from the administration have no idea where $12 billion disappeared to. So it's not surprising that my Republican friends have a difficult time figuring out what it is we're doing here. We're doing oversight, and we're going to do more of it. We're going to do oversight over the equipment that the troops had. This weekend, there were stories coming out of Iraq that Iranian-built armor-piercing projectiles were being used in roadside bombs. It reminded us again that the troops had been sent there without sufficient hardware, without sufficient protective gear, without sufficient armor-plated vehicles to be able to do their job. We're going to do oversight on that as well. And I have to say that as part of the oversight that we're doing today, we're doing oversight on how the troops are being used. And let us not kid ourselves. The troops have done a remarkable job. They've done just about every single thing we've asked. They brought down a dictator. They set up a trial. They allowed a government to be stood up. They built roads and bridges. They've done an extraordinary job, and we in this House support them in that work. But now what is their mission? Their mission is essentially to stand in the middle of a shooting match of the worst order. It is not over a patch of land. It is not a shooting match over what a border is going to be. It's not a shooting match even over oil. It's a shooting match of the most ingrained type between Shia and Sunni that goes back hundreds of years. Are our troops going to solve that conflict with 20,000 troops or 40,000 troops? I don't believe so. And even worse, I believe it's an untenable mission to be giving them. They are essentially in a schoolyard where everyone wants to fight. And I have to say to my friends on the other side of the aisle, over and over and over again today, I have heard this dynamic being described, that if we were to leave or to support this resolution, we would let down our allies, we would embolden our enemies, and we would betray the Iraqi people. In fact, this policy does all of those things. Let's look at it. What does this policy say to our allies? Well, it says to our allies in Afghanistan, we are not going to devote the resources there necessary for you to do the job. This isn't an abstract notion. You can watch it happen every single day. So long as we have 140,000 troops or 130,000 troops in this shooting match largely in Baghdad, we are watching as Afghanistan slips further and further back into the hands of the Taliban. We've heard, for example, from our so-called ally, the Saudis. And what have they said? They've been most telling. They said recently, well, to you, the citizens of the United States, if you pull your troops out, we're going to be forced to put resources in to support our Sunni brethren. Well, may I have further time?
The gentleman as much time as he may consume.
Thank you.
The gentleman is so recognized.
So the Saudis have said, if the American troops leave, we're going to have to jump in on the side of our Sunni brethren in Baghdad. What does that say? That say they'll jump into a bloodletting, but they won't come in now to help us stabilize Baghdad. They have argued essentially that the only reason they're not involved is our troops are. Some ally. Some message we're sending to our ally, Saudi Arabia. What they're sending is, you better keep your boys dying because otherwise we're going to have to send ours in. That's exactly what we want. We want them to send their resources in. We want them to take ownership of this. And the same is true for Egypt and other allies in the region. They have said to us, oh, you better keep doing what you're doing, Mr. President. We're getting exactly the wrong message. And I've also heard my colleagues speak frequently today about emboldening our enemies. Well, it seems like just about anything Democrats propose is emboldening our enemies. Well, let's take a closer look at this. Is Iran truly upset about what's going on in Iraq? Are the Iranians truly wringing their hands every day saying, boy, oh boy, I hope the United States doesn't pull out of there? No. They've never been happier with this existing policy. They have their worst elements, their worst Shiite elements are crossing over the border practically at will, joining the fight. The President of the United States himself has said it. I've heard people here on the floor say it. They like this conflagration that's going on. They want it to be like this. But they're happy for another reason, I say this, particularly to my friends on the other side of the aisle. They're happy because I am truly concerned about the threat that Iran poses, not only to the United States, but to the world. Do you think we are in a position right now with our military stretched so thin that if we needed to act against Iran, we could? Our engagement in Baghdad, adding more and more and more troops, has stretched us thinner and thinner and thinner. And the most happy people in the world are the tyrants in Iran, because they know they can get away with just about anything. And if you think I'm wrong about that, take a look at the war back last year on the northern border of Israel. Hezbollah felt completely unencumbered, which is essentially, as we all know, an agent of Iran. They felt completely unencumbered, again, just to attack another democracy in the region, because they knew that all of us were stretched entirely too thin to be able to respond. So this notion that we're going to send the wrong message to our enemies is completely wrong. You know what would send the right message to our enemies? I say to my colleagues, you take some of those troops out of Baghdad, you put them on the Iranian border, that's how you send them a message. You get them out of the shooting match, but you keep them in the neighborhood. You keep them right on the border of Iran, and you say, we don't need 140,000, but we're going to make sure you don't export any more problems. We're going to seal off the schoolyard. And finally, I've heard it said that this would be an abandonment of the Iraqi people. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is no element here that I'm more disappointed with, and I think I speak virtually for all of us. You know, our troops are in there trying to create stability in Iraq, and for some reason, overwhelming numbers of Iraqis say that they think it's okay to shoot at our troops. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. Our troops are in there trying as best they can to build this country, put it back together, and the Iraqi people over and over again are saying, you know what, it's kind of okay when I read stories about snipers shooting at our troops. The Iraqi people have to have a moment where they confront the reality of the situation. Everyone agrees, I think. Whenever I say that, I hear someone come to the floor and think that everything is going just fine in Iraq. But just about everyone agrees that the Iraqi people themselves ultimately have to take responsibility for their own country. Are we creating an environment that's more likely to happen or less likely to happen? Well, there's no sign that it's happening. So the de facto response to my own question is that it's not happening. But I would argue that every time we stand up and put additional troops in, we push the Iraqi people further from the point where they have to confront that they have to take control. Might it be messy? Yes. Might it even be bloody? Yes. But one thing is for sure, up to now the Iraqi people have simply said, we're not gonna. We don't have to. We've got our boys from the United States of America, and now we have another 20, 30, 40,000 that are going to be rolling into town. My colleagues, I have heard my friends on the other side of the aisle complain, and I have to say, present company excluded, it sounded a little bit like whining most of the day. I've heard, well, we need more choices. I've heard we need more bills. I've heard we need more language. You know, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to confront these issues, but today my colleagues have to confront the choice in front of them. Sometimes in this job, you have to say yay or nay. And today what you have to say yay or nay on, or this week, is a resolution that is exquisite in its simplicity. It says two things and two things only. It says we support the troops. We're going to keep them safe. We're going to keep them secure. We're going to do anything that they need to show our support. And two, we disapprove of the way the president wants to increase the number of troops going there. That's it. You're going to get to vote on other things later on, because we are not done. Many of us believe very strongly that we need major tactical changes, and I know Mr. Murtha has a plan. The Blue Dog Caucus has a plan for more transparency. There are going to be plenty of choices. You are going to get oversight. I know it's been years, I say to my colleagues, since you've seen any around here, but you're going to get it. But today what we have is a simple proposition. It is the same proposition that's being discussed in coffee shops, in church socials, in corner stores all around this country. And that is, do we support what the president is doing by increasing our engagement rather than reducing it? That's what this is about. And all of the foot stamping and all of the complaining and all of the whining, I want another bill. I want different language. I want to deal with something different. I want a hug. Well, for the time being, this is the choice that you're confronted with. If you believe that this surge is the right policy, you have a simple vote. You can vote no. If you believe that you don't want to support the troops, and there's no one like that, you can vote no. But this resolution is the beginning of finally starting to do what the American people are thirsting for. And that is, this chamber is a place where we stand up and say whether we support these things or not. I urge a yes vote.